Steve, we often get asked about the origins of virtual school experience, why we developed the tool, what the vision is for the future. And I know that you've been working with independent and international schools for many years now. Virtual school experience was born out of your collaboration with families looking to send their children to independent schools here in the UK and with those schools themselves. And I'm really excited to get a bit of your take on how we can help those families and those schools to get the right school for their children. Just before we begin, can you tell us in your own words what virtual school experience is?
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. So in a nutshell, virtual school experience is a new showcasing and events platform for schools. It sits within a school website, and the primary intention of it really was to allow a school to personalize the delivery of their content. So previous to this, there wasn't any option for a school to do that. And for a school to then be able to reach out into their audience and tell a truly personal digital story, all created in-house by their own marketing and admissions teams. And that's what really excited me at the time, to put something that the opportunity to help the school was there, but actually it's for the future as well. So a school can really put their best foot forward going into the future.
So what is it specifically about your experience working with those international families, looking for their perfect fit school, that you've been able to put into the virtual school experience platform?
So working with all types of families from around the world, they're all different actually. So I've always said that they're all different, but they're always all the same as well. And by that, I mean that they've all got one thing in common, that they want the best thing possible for their children in fee-paying education. Now that can obviously take various different guises, but some of the challenges of accessing that education, time zone. So we deal a lot with international families. Time zone is a big killer for access because they can't reach open days online or they can't travel. Busy lives as well. A lot of recruitment events and student admissions programs abroad, you're hostage to being free that weekend. If you weren't, then you missed the school. And also accessing a little bit more of the story behind the corporate brand. A lot of the schools, rightly so, have invested heavily in their corporate brand and it looks great. But a lot of the families from our side are making a very emotional decision, and they really want to see that person who's going to teach their children. And I feel some of the marketing of maybe the sector has gone too far the other way, and this is a really great opportunity to bring it back and focus on the individual.
So you are MD here at Virtual School Experience, and you've also been MD at Clarence Education, and that's where you've been involved with placing those international families into independent schools. What have you found that international families like about the different schools that you introduce them to?
It's a really good question, and I could kind of talk about this for hours, but we've probably learned more, if you rephrase it, about what they don't like. So yeah. We're in a really unique position in that business, that we learn a lot from what families are looking for out of their school choice, their criteria, whether that be location, academic performance, sports, extracurricular, and everything in between. But we've also learned a lot on the other side of that transaction about how schools try and access that market. So we're in between of that information flow, and we generally get a very honest opinion from the parents. So maybe more honest than they would be with the schools. So we've learned that they wish that they'd done X, Y, Z on an open day, or they wish that they could do this type of event abroad. What they like about the format of a day, their website, or their staff. So that is an information that we've gathered over the past kind of 8 to 9 years, and then really funneled that in to say, what would a modern digital product look like to let a school deliver all of that message around the world on their own terms?
So you've had a lot of experience with families directly. You've also had a lot of experience with a whole host and variety of independent schools here. And it sounds like you really wanted to help those schools address some challenges that you've seen. What do you think that the challenges have been for the independent schools market in recent years?
It's been a really, really tricky time over the past couple of years. And the more that we work with schools on the parent side of the business, the more that we understand how hard that job actually is. A really, really hard time, especially over the past 12 months. And I think it's probably going to get more so, very, very competitive. As international numbers into the UK possibly dip short term, maybe. Parents are getting more discerning around what they want out of their school. So it's a very competitive landscape, and a lot of regions in the UK have got more than 2 or 3 really good options. So that's really where we saw an opportunity to help those schools. They've all got very different USPs, to put that forward in the best light, and in some ways have their shop window always on. So a family can dip in and dip out on their own terms. As we know, families are engaging with all sorts of brands in the most personal way possible now. And I think it's time that, we put that product together to let schools do the same thing. It's almost impossible for a school with maybe 5 or 6 different really good stories to tell them to every single individual parent.
Absolutely. And I really like how you say letting families come and see past the corporate glossiness and see what it would feel like to really be a parent of a student at that school. And that's exactly what we're doing with VSE.
Yeah, I think also that there's a big thing around getting more accountable. So tracking those leads about where they're coming in, what families like and what they don't like, and acting on that. It's very difficult at the moment from a marketing point of view from schools to really understand what was popular, what wasn't popular, and to deliver an experience to a parent over and above their website and maybe a Zoom call. So that's really where this product fits in.
So VSE has launched in the last 12 months or so. How have you seen schools using the virtual school experience platform to recruit more pupils in this challenging time?
So it's a really interesting question, because the more schools who are using the platform have been more creative in the way they use it, which is really good sign. So we see more usage across different types of areas. So primarily more leads and more family engagement. So that's probably before the admissions process starts. So personalizing what they actually access, so the content that they've got. Then converting more of those family leads into real interest, getting them to come and see you in person, teeing up that phone call, and then monitoring how they're engaging with you at that point. But then there's also a whole load of other areas where schools have used it after open days physically. They personalize that experience of an open day after the event. That is the golden opportunity to be personalizing that follow-up. And then engaging with agent networks around the world. Some schools use agents to differing degrees than others, but currently there's no real way of monitoring how that agent relationship works, tracking how effective it is, but also how the agents are portraying the school. Can you control that central branding, which you should be able to as a school marketer?
Absolutely. So in your opinion then, Steve, having worked with schools and families for the last 9-10 years, why do you think this is important now, coming off, out of the back of COVID?
I think so we designed and developed this product with the future in mind. So obviously everything had to go virtually, but I think the future will have elements of both a hybrid physical and online presence. So this is really where schools now more than ever are marketing a luxury product, and they really have the world to shoot at to get the right parents for their school. So this is really where we see the product sitting in between, it being incredibly important for schools to get the right parents for their fit, so they get the right fit for them long term, but also allowing the parent to be picking the right schools as well, and it allows the two to come together.
Thank you. And what are you finding that the results are of using VSE for the schools that have started using the platform?
I have to be honest, we've been amazed with the feedback so far. So all of our schools have said that it's a complete game changer to the way that they engage with their parents, and it should be part of every strategy that they've got going forward. Some of the kind of the tangible things is we've seen our side that the engagement levels of time spent. So roughly speaking, depending on what type of website you've got, 90 seconds to 2 minutes, most parents will stay. There may be 10, 15 clicks deep across multiple different types of pages that are not relevant for them. We're seeing about 12 to 15 minutes of engagement per school experience for families, which shows that the content is being watched, the content is being engaged with. So that is a really, really important point, and schools are really excited about it.
So lastly then, Steve, thank you so much. What is next for virtual school experience?
Well, that would be telling. But I think from my side, I really think the future is going to be around the data and the analytics of the engagement. So allowing a more data-driven model around how schools engage with their parent base for different regions. So for instance, South American family may want a very different type of trait in their school to an American family or European family. So that's important. Product integrations into kind of other types of software to allow more ease of use would be very good. But I also think the automation around letting a family access what they want on their terms. Up until now, you know, you are hostage to time zones and everything like that. So I think we've got a huge opportunity to allow a school to take a super modern view of their school marketing going forward over the next 5-10 years.
That's really helpful, thank you. And you've given us a really good overview for any schools that are looking at VSE and are thinking about their school marketing and admissions for the next intake and thinking what they can do to further personalise that. If any school watching this does want to see how virtual school experience can help them with their marketing and admissions, very happy to have a quick chat with Steve or myself, and we can show you what that looks like with your school logo, your school images, to really showcase that to prospective families. But thank you, Steve, for your time today. Really, really helpful. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks very much.